So today I'm going to be talking about recovery and why you shouldn't stop halfway. This is known as quasi-recovery, which is basically a point where you have restored weight, but not really enough to heal all the damage that has been done. It's also a place where you're kind of stuck at still having to count calories usually or exercise in order to maintain your weight. You might still be at a place where you feel like you want to eat more, but you won't let your body eat more because you think that you've done enough and that you've gained enough weight and you're at a healthy weight, you're within the healthy weight range, but you're not necessarily at a healthy weight for your body. And so you think that you shouldn't gain any more weight past this point. I think a lot of people who have been through eating disorder recovery kind of get stuck at this spot because they've taken the initiative to recognize that they do have an eating disorder and that they were underweight, and so they gain weight, but then once they get to a healthy weight range, they think, I shouldn't gain any more weight because I don't want to get fat, and so now I'm just going to stop gaining more weight and I'm going to, only eat like a normal amount and I'm going to exercise to maintain this weight. But really, the eating disorder thoughts don't stop because your body is still not at a place where it wants to be at, so you still are constantly thinking about food, you're still constantly thinking about your body. You're not fully recovered mentally or physically because your body's not at a healthy place, and so it keeps you in this state of constantly thinking about food, and therefore you have to constantly keep thinking about your body and your body image. So it's just really not a great place to be in because it also makes you very vulnerable to relapse again because you have to keep counting calories and working out in order to maintain this weight. It kind of keeps you in that mindset of constantly thinking about food, thinking about how much you're eating, and so it makes you really susceptible to relapse because it can be so easy to just go back into old habits at this state, and your body's not fully recovered, your metabolism isn't fully recovered, your body hasn't done all the repairs that it wants to do, so your body's not in a happy state, your mind's not in a happy state, and you could relapse at any day really. So usually in a state of quasi-recovery, you may have stopped your actual eating disorder behavior such as over-exercising or purging or using laxatives or skipping meals, but you still won't let your body go past a certain weight, and you still make yourself go on a run for an hour a day in order to maintain your current weight. So there's this really interesting research paper by Dulloo, and I'll link that in the description box below, but he basically studied the participants of the Minnesota starvation experiment, and he noted that in recovery from a starvation state, fat mass has to be restored before fat-free mass is restored. This is kind of the explanation for the overshoot phenomenon. Say before you went on a diet or before you had your eating disorder, you were a BMI of 21, and then you got underweight, let's say, and then in recovery your weight overshot to a BMI of 22 or 23, and then over time it naturally went back down to your regular BMI of 21. So basically the explanation for this is that because at your BMI of 21 your body had a fixed proportion of fat mass to fat-free mass, your body will want to return to that same ratio of fat mass to fat-free mass, and in order to do that, your body gains fat mass before fat-free mass, so you will have to gain more fat mass in order to restore the same amount of fat-free mass that you had in the past. So the longer that you stay in this quasi-recovery state, the more efficient your body will be at shutting down unnecessary biological functions, and the more efficient your body will be at storing fat at the lower amount of calories that you may be eating. So your body may want to be gaining more weight in order to be having a period and everything, and so say you might be eating 1800 calories a day, let's say, and then suddenly you start gaining weight. So then at that point you start freaking out that you're gaining weight suddenly, you think you have to cut back on your food even more. And so this is why it can so easily lead to relapse, because your body is just not at a place that it wants to be at. So if you're under the weight that your body wants to be at, your body may start fighting against you and start, wanting to use the calories that you actually are feeding it as fat storage. And so you might be freaking out, because you're gaining weight again, and so then you might reduce your calories in order to maintain this weight that you think is right for your body. And then this can so easily lead to a relapse, because then you have to go to really unhealthy ways of losing weight or maintaining your weight again. So another thing that is interesting is that the greater the starvation was, or the greater that the damage was, the greater the overshoot will be. And I personally found this true for myself, as the first time I recovered, I went up to a weight of 140 pounds, and then I relapsed again, doing more damage to my body, and the second time I recovered, I went up to 161 pounds. And it took me a higher weight to get my period back as well the second time. Every body is different, and we all have our natural body weight that our body likes to be at. So basically, however much we feed it, our metabolic rate will increase or decrease accordingly in order to maintain homeostasis and maintain that weight. This is why when you're recovered, it's so much easier to maintain your weight, because you don't have to count calories or anything in order to maintain that weight. You just have to listen to your body, and your body will stay at your natural weight. So even when you overshoot, your body will still naturally go back down to your natural weight again, because that's the weight that it wants to be at. And when it's underweight, that's why you have to count calories and exercise to maintain that low weight, because your body wants to go up to your natural weight. So this is what happens. People go through recovery, so say they were a BMI of 21 before their recovery. They go through their eating disorder and they get down to an unhealthy weight, and then they recover. And they think that, you know, well, before I was at a BMI of 21, so once I get to a BMI of 21, I'm just gonna stop there again and, you know, maintain that weight. In order to get back to the ratio of fat mass to fat-free mass again, their body it wants to overshoot in order to restore your metabolic rate and just restore healthy functioning of your body again. It may want to go above a BMI of 21. People don't recognize that, and they just think that, you know, I'm at a healthy BMI, so I'm just going to stop here, I'm just going to maintain my weight. And this is quasi-recovery, where you're not allowing yourself to fully go through the healing process and fully recover again. So just because your natural BMI is a BMI of 21, that does not mean that you should force your body to stay at that once you get to it in recovery. So you shouldn't just stop there for the physical aspects of recovery, but also for the psychological aspects of recovery. Because you're gonna have to stay in this dieting mindset in order to maintain that weight. You're gonna have to stay in that state of thinking about food, thinking about your body, thinking about how much exercise you're doing. Dieting and the dieting mindset will never help you recover from anorexia or bulimia or whatever eating disorder or dieting mindset that you had. Also, another huge aspect to recognize is that a lot of us started our eating disorders when we were teenagers, and now that we're recovered, we are full-grown women. So we think that our bodies should be the weight that we were when we were a teenager, when we're probably not gonna naturally be the same weight when we were a teenager. Like, we're more fully developed women now, so like we're gonna be a higher weight naturally. Say you were like a BMI of, you know, 19 when you were a teenager, and then you had your eating disorder, and now that you're recovering again, you think that your BMI should still be BMI of 19, but that's your teenage weight. Like, we're women now. We need fat on our bodies. Like, that's what's healthy for us. And another aspect is your metabolism will not normalize if you do not reach your natural body weight. You need to gain weight again for your metabolism to be ramped up to normal levels again. So for a while there, before my weight plateaued, I was eating about 4,000 calories a day, and then my weight started plateauing while I was eating anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day, and it just maintained there even though I was eating this high amount of calories. I see like so many women have shared this experience as well, just like, especially I've just seen it in the high carb, low fat vegan community, is where they'll gain weight in recovery or from their dieting past, but then they get to a point in their weight where literally no matter how much they eat, their weight will just stay where it is because their metabolism has ramped up again and their body has repaired most of the damage, so you can still eat however much you want and still maintain your weight. Otherwise, if you're still forcing yourself to stay at this BMI, your lower metabolism will force you to continue restricting yourself in order to maintain that weight. So basically, either you diet indefinitely and stay in this quasi-recovery state with the potential to relapse at any moment at, say, a BMI of 21, or you can go up to, say, a BMI of 23, 24 temporarily, and then naturally over time go back down to your natural weight. You really have to remember that the pain is only temporary. I know that it can be uncomfortable for people, you know, gaining past a weight that they were comfortable with, and maybe you go up to a weight that you've never been at before. That was my experience. I went up to a weight that I have never been before. I was very uncomfortable in my skin, but you feel just a lot better mentally because you don't have to think about food, and you can really focus on other areas of your life because you really have enough energy for the first time in years for a lot of us to actually do the things that we want to do. So during this time in recovery, you really just have to focus on things that don't have to do with food and body image, and use that newfound energy to actually pursue your passions and achieve your goals that aren't related to weight and body image. And as you go through this process, it's just so incredible because you just have so much more time and so much more energy to focus on your passions, and you just have to remember that it's temporary and that you will get through this and that you will be stronger at the end because you went through this. So I really hope that that helps some of you who may be stuck in quasi-recovery. So I'm going to link some links in the comments down below if you're interested in the Dulloo article on the whole fat-free mass versus fat mass and the overshoot phenomenon. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. And until next time, peace out guys, bye!